welcome back to SuperCoach Edge, where we finally see the back end of the bye rounds, thank the Lord, and we're now putting the cherry on top of our teams with our last upgrades. And for those that kept the faith, where someone certainly didn't take the
You won't like me when I'm angry.
warning seriously, as the Hulk says, as the Green Machine, he hulked out with a 153. Meanwhile, we had some royalty, bust out some nice scores with TDK, whose surname, for those people that don't know, legit is actually Dutch for the King. He smashed out a mammoth 176 to follow on from scores of 131, 140, and 146, if you don't mind. Whilst King Charles Curnow, he scored a handy 118. And given we are both new owners of each respectively, Liam, we've certainly bent the knee to our new kings.
We have TDK, my Lord and Savior.
King Charles.
Bringing my season back. Bringing my season back.
Incredible. Like, I know we discussed it briefly during last week's episode when you posed that question to me unannounced. I didn't think you were going to follow through with it, but to do it, and I said the message to you as well. It echoed to me of back in seasons gone when you jumped on Jack Steele as he burst out of the blocks, like his first real breakout season. This is you've still got it. You've still got it. I must say.
Or might I say, my call of old mate Goulden.
Oh yes, of course,
my boy,
100%. Your boy. How could I forget? That was more recently. Yes,
I love my boy.
So
I wish I had him this year, but anyway. Yes, enjoying it. Enjoying it.
It's been good. At least that's something to hang your hat on, because I know it's been a tough season.
I still know it. Still got it.
Yep, you still got it.
Player sometimes. Sometimes just not a starting team.
Well, I reckon you've probably got a better track record than Dodoro. Ex Don recruiter.
That's it. Get me in, and I'll pick out some random players for you to break out. But anyway, yes, before we do get stuck into things, of course, let's go through the socials. And if you're not following us, this is where you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you are watching us for the full audio visual
experience.
Yes, that's the word. Search SuperCoach Edge, and don't forget to subscribe so you are notified when our content drops from week to week. On Twitter, you'll find us at @supercoach_edge, David at DamoJ88, myself at @Liam_Evans_95. And on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, search SuperCoach Edge. You'll find us there.
Perfect. Well, let's go through how we both scored in the last bye round 15. Ended up scoring a 2,096, and ranking-wise, went up 44 spots to now sit 2,225th overall. In terms of the trades that I did, I ended up punting Fraser to Rawlinson, the non-playing player from the Eagles. Bit of a tactic, just planning ahead for the trade that I'm going to do in round 16, which I'll get into in a moment. And I also traded out McAuliffe to that man, Charles Curnow, the old king. So I ended up ending the bye rounds, the bye period, with a score slightly above par. For round 15, I should say. But overall, I think I ended up working out I was just a touch below, I think, potentially, or a touch above the 8,000 point mark, which I know I saw Abs Magic mention on Twitter in terms of the combined total across the bye weeks. If you were able to score around about 8,000 points or above, you would have, by and large, found yourself moving up the ranks. But I ended up falling down a little bit. So I think it was around about 700 ranking spots. I ended up falling compared to where I was ranked before round 12, but it is what it is. But in terms of round 15, a fairly solid round overall in terms of consistency across the team, with 14 players cracking the ton, 2 in the 90s and 2 in the 60s. And as I said, Curnow, he was incredible on debut with a 118. Jai Clark, he was actually my 19th man, and thankfully his score of 31 didn't count towards my total. Otherwise, I would have been in tears. And heading into round 16, and obviously referencing back to that trade-in of Rawlinson, the non-playing player, I actually have the funds now to punt Jai Clark directly to Rozee, which is really a hilarious sentence to say. And I'll be able to do that in one trade. So Rawlinson, as my non-playing player, will allow me to potentially loop on the scores of a Rozee, Tookie Miller, or a Tom Green, seated at M9 with emergency from week to week, really depending on the strength of matchups for those 3 players, really determining as to who sits in that spot. But now I have 4 trades for emergency long-term injuries, and the likes of Revel and Dowling as cover across mid and forward, with multiple lines of coverage via DPP with various primos. So from here, hopefully I consolidate my ranking, and with a full complement of 22 primos and a 23rd in Rozee, I can start my climb. Liam, how did you fare in the last buy round?
Yes, I managed a score of 2,044 overall. Not too bad. Pretty happy. Not pretty happy, but just, happy enough. Was what it was. It saw me go up the rankings, 4.8k spots to sit 55,756 overall, which does mean that, I guess, across the buy rounds, I've gone up around 3k.
Still pretty good.
Which, you know what, I'll take.
Yep.
I think it does put a bit of a dent in my finishing minus
Oh, yes.
1,467th or whatever it was by season's end if these trends continue. But we'll see. I haven't done the maths yet. So I'll do that do that before the next episode. And we'll see where I'll end up by the end of the season. In terms of trades, I did make just the one. So I do have a lot of trades left up my sleeve in actual fact, because I just want to prolong my SuperCoach experience this season.
And the fun that comes with trading, no doubt, as well.
Yes, I think
smart play. Strategic play.
SuperCoach is going so slow. So I've still got 9 trades up my sleeve.
9, wow.
Just made the one trade this round, trading out the Moyle.
Oh,
yes. Big Moyle, Boyle, Doyle, whatever you want to call him.
The big Boyle.
The big Boyle.
Big boil in your ass.
Traded him to the opposite of a boil on my ass, TDK.
Oh,
for 176.
You've crafted that boil into a crown with TDK.
That was it. Absolutely. On my head. So let's
boil a crown on your head instead of a boil.
That's it. So this round, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'm just going to see how what happens. I'm not going for Connor Rozee though at this stage, I don't think. I am looking to finish out my forward line. So
you're in the market.
I'm in the market for
shopping
for a forward. Who will I pick? I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully someone cheap. But let's jump into this episode so we can figure out who I'm going to pick. But first of all, Damon, let's go through the head-to-head. Obviously, you did get the win, which pushes you out to 14 wins to 1 win and a points differential of 2,096.
Yes, and interesting as well to note that as I was marking down the points for, points against that we've had across the entirety of our head-to-head matchup, I actually sat on 30,009 points last week, and this week you sit on exactly 30,009 points scored. Not sure what that means, but it's just an interesting bit of numerology. That's very, very strange. Also strange, should mention as well, I not only had 1 draw in one of my head-to-head leagues, I had 2.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's any easier to have ties in a bye week, because there's like obviously scores and stuff which drop out. I don't know, but yeah, I just found that interesting.
Maybe less likely to be pods.
2 draws. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, maybe. But
you'd think it'd be the opposite, maybe, because you got less scores. Bad. I don't know. Interesting. I don't know.
But both matchups as well. Like, it wasn't as if we had like a whole heap of the same players.
Yeah, it's like you've got
So, yeah, it was very interesting. Wow. But anyway, numerology. There's just numbers galore for those people that can feast on that get off on those sort of things, which I do, because I like the numbers and the trends. They continue.
Love it.
Well, let's do it, Liam. Shall we jump into the first segment with the good, the bad, and the ugly? Well, let's kick it off with the good, and we spoke about him in the intro. It is the Hulk, Tom Green, the Green Machine. He bounced back in a massive way, hulking out with a score of 153, with the 3rd highest score for the round, and rewarding those that have kept the faith. Thank you, Tommy Green.
Yes, thank you, Tommy Green. In the bad, not thank you to Luke Jackson. It was an incredibly frustrating watch for owners, with Jackson relegated to a season low of 21% ruck contest and a lowly score of 66, while Hodor dined out on a game-high 147 points.
I just really wish that Hodor would be holding the door for Luke Jackson to take the number one ruck mantle, which I think he has technically when he's been injured, but it's going to happen again. Is Shrek going to break down? Is he going to not play and then Jackson can just take that mantle back? Because it just hurts.
How old is Sean Darcy?
I don't know. He sure plays like he's been playing for about 15 years because
he's like a 1970s ruckman.
He's got a body built as a bloody suburban footballer.
He's only 26.
Wow. I can relate because I'm not 26, but I'm actually 10 years plus that. But I feel as though my body is about 10 years older than what it actually is. Wow. He'll break down again, surely. Because he broke down
at least
about,
I don't know,
this time last year.
29. Like at the youngest, 26.
He's pushing it.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
He's still got that puppy fat he needs to get rid of. How many years have he been in the system? About 6. Come on. But anyway, Luke Jackson, as you said, not thank you to him.
Thank you, Luke Jackson.
And not thank you also as well, even more so, to the pig, the pink sweaty pig, Clary Oliver. And as we flagged the potential of happening in last week's episode, the absence of Petrarca meant that Clary, he drew the tag from Will Phillips, who did an awesome job on Dacos, only to be subbed out. But it was funny this game as well. I was listening to it on the radio for portions of it as I was driving. And the commentators were mentioning, is Clark going to sub him off just to prove a point and be an arrogant bastard, like a stubborn guy, and be like, nah, Will Phillips, you've done a good job. We're going to sub you off. But no, he kept the faith. But Clary, he was limited to a season low 32 points. And what was equally concerning for Clary was his CBAs, which actually dipped from 83% to 68% without track. And it was a visibly frustrating night for the pink sweaty pig as he only had 14 disposals, but gave away multiple free kicks. And I think a 50-meter penalty potentially as well. Cracking the shits. And his head is not in the right spot at the moment. Good old Clary. Not the Clary of old. And for those people that jumped on him, which there was a spate of people that did about a month or two ago, they're not going to be happy campers, and rightfully so.
Ugly.
Yeah. It
really is. It just, seriously. I think it just shows his lack of preseason right now is really showing. Like, he's just not, he just doesn't, like, I know he was never the fittest looking person. Not quite Sean Darcy level, but.
I was about to say, he jumped in there 100%. I don't think anyone can be.
But
Sean Darcy
like,
level.
just, like not, but just like, like, or a track, for instance, like not that kind of different body shapes, and that's not an issue, but he just looks like
conditioned. Yeah. He doesn't have that conditioning about him.
I think the lack of preseason is really hurting him now.
It's amazing, isn't it, that like the fall from grace that he's had, where last year obviously he had the spate of hamstring injuries, all that sort of stuff, the hand, finger, whatever it was. And then off the back of that, didn't play for a number of weeks. And then just the hope that we had leading into this year, and he's just dashed any of those high hopes that we had. So hopefully he can reclaim, the old title of being the pink sweaty pig, but he's not sweating by the looks of it. He's probably sweating more so around about his spot, probably in Melbourne side at the moment. Because during the preseason, though, he was testing their faith. And then
even like, remember when there was being spoken about as potential trade?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if Melbourne had done that, you would have got good money, or not good money, but good trade capital.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a swing. And even like Tom Petty, when they were considering trading him for like 2 first-rounders and said no.
Oh, yeah.
Like, seriously, anyway.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? But anyway, the old pig juice, I'm drinking it in solidarity with the old pink sweaty.
Should be cheap next year though, mate. If he can turn around, like, he'll be absolute bargain next year.
Yeah, imagine if he ends up at somewhere like Geelong for cheap.
No, he's too young.
Alongside, that's true. I was going to say alongside Baslenka, who reportedly is linked to the Cats. Was linked to the Pies, but now it's the Cats. But I don't know. There's going to be a team that no doubt puts their hand up for a bit of a cheap bargain of Clary if the Ds don't want him. But yeah, as you said, Supercoach wise, going to be very, very cheap and a bit of a bargain. So holding out a bit of hope for Clary. But
that's it.
Liam, with round 6 down on the horizon, we're now out of the bye rounds. We've seen the back of them. Thank God. We've kicked them out the door. Let's jump now into the trade talk with The Price is Right.
Show me the money.
The price is wrong, bitch.
For those tuning in for the first time, the price is for a weird time to start, just by the way, if you are tuning in for the first time.
Oh,
Where were
yes.
you?
Yeah.
Where
Yep.
were you? But
Oh, it's
anyway,
never too late. Never too late.
no. Where
That's
were
right.
you? You should have been here earlier.
Yeah, that's true.
The Price is Right is the segment where we discuss potential trades and trade targets from week to week, and even discuss whether players should be traded in or traded out at all. So first up, we're going to go with the going gones, and these are the guys that you need to get out of your side this week. First up, we have Jai Clark, 245.6K. He is mid-eligible. And while Clark had a season high 20 disposals, it only returned a score of 31 due to just 40% disposal efficiency and a game high 8 clangers. I don't get it. I
It's
really
a bit
don't.
of self-sabotage now. Like, we're complaining about Scott, and rightfully so, not giving him a chance because he was a sub every single week, whether it's starting or being subbed off in game. Now it's self-sabotage, and I reckon Scott's got into his head, and he's like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe like when he's sizing up players for kicks and stuff, he's just like shanking them because he's got like the Brad Scott, the devil on the shoulder, being like, you're not gonna make this kick, mate. You're not gonna make this kick. You're not gonna make this handball. You're not gonna connect. I don't know, but yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment. But yeah, there's a bit of upside, isn't there, in terms of his
There
price.
is. Because despite his score of 31, he still went up 24.5K. Almost went up $1,000 for each point he scored in price due to his negative break even, which did see his overall profit hit 121.7K. Cash out,
Woo!
please.
Please,
And
100%.
reward for those 32.7% of owners that held onto him for what has been a bumpy cash cow roller coaster at best.
Almost derailed, I reckon, at stages. Remember back when like I was looking at his ownership earlier, and there was a lot of people that actually jumped off him when he had only accrued like 30K profit.
Mm.
So we said he was going to be a slow burn, and he's been that.
It's averaging 41.1.
Yet he's made that much profit.
His
That's
break even is
incredible.
45.
You. He's worth it. He's worth it though.
Is he?
He's been worth having in my team.
I held Chesser last year for all that time. He's currently my mascot.
Yes,
Jai
yeah,
Clark.
yeah.
Jai Clark is most certainly not my mascot.
But at least he's made you coin. Like Chesser, he probably would have made you like
I don't know why I'm
moths
not more angry
in
about
your wallet.
Chesser, considering when I traded him out, I remember I was playing in a cash league and he scored like his one score of 80 that whoever I was playing was relying on
Oh, that's
Chesser.
right. Came
Anyway,
back to bite you.
seriously, Chesser, I should have not been my favorite. But anyway, get him out, trade him, Jai Clark, cash in your 121.7K, be done with him. It's been 15 weeks of hell.
Yeah, 15 weeks of hell, and just hoping that he was gonna. I actually didn't even realize that he had surpassed the 100K mark, and because thank the Lord that he actually had a negative break even, because I was kind of relying upon him to go up enough in price for me to be able to afford a straight swap to Rozee. And when Rozee was getting ever so close to his break even, I was like, ooh, okay, this might not work. And Jai Clark he tried his best to scuttle it and ruin my best laid plans for bringing in Rozee with the direct swap. But thankfully, it wasn't to be. But get him out, as you say. Unreliable scoring, not a reliable bench cover at all, any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Next up, though, we have the sexy man, Alex Sexton, 420.6K forward defender, and was able to eke out a respectable score of 80 and take 5 of the total 13 kickouts for the Suns, despite the return of Will Powell and Gold Coast running with bulk defensive options for round 15. Has a break-even of 77, which is achievable when you factor in that Gold Coast are playing the Pies, who do give up points to opposition defenders. But the question is, will his role continue? Is it only a matter of time before he's squeezed out of that defense, especially with the first choices in Powell and Flanders, the preferred run and carry distributors? Maybe. Strangely, though, he did actually play 34% of time on the wing on the weekend and only seemed to have swung back when Flanders spent time in the middle. He's profited 287.2K in total, and believe it or not, would net you close to 10K if you were to swap him to a Rozee via DPP, which is food for thought and crazy. Crazy thought as well.
Yeah, very crazy. I think he's it's a weird one. I think you could hold him potentially another week.
Mm. Yep.
I think it depends on who else you're trading. So, for
Mm.
instance, I've still got Tom Powell, who I'm looking at punting this week. I've held him long enough. And I'd almost trade him. His break even is like 101 or something. So I'm considering punting Powell and jumping on Sexton and keeping Sexton for another week and going from there. But yeah, don't
Yeah.
mind it.
It makes sense as well. Like just in terms of, because we, as you say, could have probably had him in the next category of on the chopping block, but the main reason we speak about him here in the gone category is that higher price point.
Yeah.
If you are in need of bringing in, your last upgrade, he's an obvious stepping stone to do that. Just that.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's like 37K to less than 37K to Kerno as well. Like
Yeah, well,
there's options galore.
I do like it, but I do also like your idea as well, based upon makeup of your team.
Depends on your
If you want to
team.
keep
Yeah.
him, if you want to keep him for another week, probably do that. Break evens, 77? So yeah, achievable.
Yeah, certainly. So let's move on to on the chopping block. And first up, we have the Breville himself, Bruce Revel, 282.9K forward / mid eligible. And the Juicy Brucey has served owners well since debuting for Brisbane, like that from you, Damon, having made 180.5K in total profit. Now has a break even of 45, but he is by no means a must trade, as he serves as a valuable DPP bench cover for the remainder of the season with an average of 62.9. However, if you do need to pawn off a player in order to fund one of your remaining upgrades to a primo, Revel might be that avenue. I mean, having made 180.5K, you can take him out of the old Breville maker.
Very good.
He's fully cooked.
What would it be, like a jaffle maker or
Yeah, I reckon, yeah. Just like toasted sandwich.
Yeah, nice toasted sandwich.
Mm.
I haven't had a jaffle in a long, long while, like a spaghetti jaffle, which no matter what filling you put in it, is bound to be like hotter than the depths of hell.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And burn the absolute shit out of your face.
I don't understand the science behind it.
Mm.
Like, why does the outside not that hot, but why is the inside so hot?
That's very true. That's very true.
Like the outside is the part that's touching the fire, like not the fire, but like the hotness.
The element of the hot, yeah.
The hotness. Very, very.
That's my nickname. That's what I say to Ash when she's hugging me. I'm like, you're touching the
maker.
hotness. Yes. You can call me the jaffle maker. I'm hot
on the inside.
Hotter on the inside. Oh, there we go. Didn't take us long to just speak absolute drivel. We got there.
Yeah. Anyway, keep him. Hold him. I think you can, like, it depends. It depends on what other trades you've got. Like, if you're potentially, I don't know, trade out Clark before you trade out fucking Revel.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing, because I didn't even realize that I had the funds to trade Clark to Rozee. I was like, okay, plan is to trade Revel to Rozee, which I didn't want to do because firstly, he's, been reliable enough. Job security is pretty sound, and DPP as well. So happy enough that I'm keeping him now. And he's going to be my season-long cover, kind of a bit like, harving back to last year, our mascot, our man. And it's not Chesser, but Seamus. Remember good old Seamus Mitchell?
Good old Seamus Mitchell. Bloody hell.
He was my bench cover. He lasted maybe 1 week and then got dropped by Sam Mitchell and didn't play again for like a month, and then played like a random game when I didn't need him because I had injuries in the midfield. But hopefully Brucey will be able to help me if need be. Good old GC Brucey.
That's it.
Good man. But speaking in the same breath as him, Joel Frazier, 271.8K forward mid, similar price point, and is in the exact same boat as Revel. Because if you need an upgrade, he could be your man to do just that. Otherwise, he's probably going to provide nice bench cover across both lines, of course, with that DPP. Comes down to your makeup. If you need someone as a stepping stone, if you need to pawn someone after, accrue a bit of funds to then put on the head of another player to fund the, upgrade to a primo, you can do that, just that. But I think either way, comes down to your makeup and what you want to do.
That's it. Let's move on to the get them in. These are the guys, as the name suggests, that you should trade in. First up, we have Isaac Rankin, 571.4K forward eligible, coming off his bye. He is currently the fourth highest averaging forward option, obviously with that injury. Can't look at his total points, but based off average, he is the fourth highest averaging forward. Averaging 108 for the season so far. He has returned from his injury just before the bye for a score of 98 against the Swans, and his upside has come from his time in the midfield this year, averaging 40% CBAs across the season so far. With that being said, he hasn't got the highest ceiling. Just 4 of his 11 scores are above 100, but I think they've all been sort of 110, 115 to 120, 130 off the top of my head. So not bad in terms of ceiling scores, but just not consistently high ceiling. But he seemingly has a relatively consistent floor at the very least. It's got one sort of outlier score of 68, and the rest have been 81, 85 plus. So not too bad. So maybe one to avoid if you are focusing on leagues, just because of that sort of variance, I guess. Like you kind of want someone that's going at a consistent average of 100, because you don't want him to pump out an 80 one week and a 125 the next and then knock you out of a final or whatever. But he may be, could also be one though that's en route to be getting some DPP, giving him some added flexibility as our trades do dwindle. So he should get some mid eligibility as well. So that would be nice. 571k, there's probably better options that are cheaper that are probably going to average similar. But I do like the old Isaac Rankin.
Yep. Do like him as well. If I had the coin, I probably would have gone for him over good old King Charles. But I was a little bit worried, and this is just personally with me and my PTSD when it comes to injuries in the latter part of the season, just knowing that he's had that hamstring injury, which I think even cropped up first in the preseason or thereabouts, had a bit of a restricted run there. So yeah, aside from that, if he was fit and firing, had no other issues, I probably would have jumped on him. But I 100% agree there. Moving on to Connor Rozee, 410.7k as a midfielder, of course. And as we've mentioned, you could trade Sexton to Rozee and make cash. Now, Liam, as you've written here, just let that sink in. Crazy. Almost as crazy as saying you can trade Clark directly to Rozee. Which is what I'm doing. So money well spent. But the power skipper is priced at a low price of just over 400k, presenting as pure value. He's really the perfect M9 loop option as he has a high ceiling, meaning you can potentially screen his scores and loop them if he hits a high off the bench. He's also more than decent cover for injuries, which is a big tick as well. And before the weekend, he was also sitting at a split of 76% midfield time and 24% forward. So could he also get DPP? It's probably unlikely, but geez, we can dream. We can dream. That would be the ultimate dream, like getting him in M9, F7 territory. He'd be straight on field in the forward line if that was the case. He'd probably be in F3, F2. Oh, sorry, F3 behind Heaney. So yeah, we'll just have to fantasize about that. But I mean, to get him in as an M9 in itself is pretty good. Pretty good value.
Agreed entirely. If you can get him in from M9, do it. I like it. I like it a lot. Because I think with looking at my side, you could loop him in for a Rowell, a Miller, a Green, bloody Steele.
Yeah.
Trade him to Steele, make the cash. Sorry, trade Steele to him.
It's true. That's another option.
If you have the trades.
Yes.
Anyway, next option for our forward lines, it is Charlie Curnow. 457k, obviously a forward. For a key position forward, he has a relatively good floor, courtesy of his ability to consistently kick goals. I think he's 2 in every game so far this season. His ability to take contested marks as he rolls back late in quarters and when the game is on the line. And as people on Twitter, I'm sure, will believe, his ability to draw free kicks. But, seriously, anyway, let's move on. Let's not evoke the ire of the Twitter community.
Oh, no, exactly. If you need an answer to that, just have a look at my Twitter and the tweet that I made post-game, which is virtually he's been having, I think it was like 1.1 free kicks a game, and he kicked, 30-something goals for the season. So It's hogwash. Is that the term? Hogwash, hogwallop, or
Hogwash.
something? Or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yep, it's all of them. All the above.
All of the above. That's it. In any case, it all works out as Supercoach Gold for a kick. You know what? If he is getting the free kicks, it works out for Supercoach because
Hmm.
he is any contested possessions, which I want to talk about that a bit later. But anyway, works out as Supercoach Gold for a key position forward, though.
Hmm.
The way he is playing, his lowest scores read 59, 71, 75, but has also managed to ton up 5 times as well as another 3 scores in the 90s. So it's not like his ceilings, like he's pretty consistent in terms of his scoring. Probably one to avoid though if you are playing majority or majorly for leagues, because he does have that slightly higher variance in scores, but he is the 6th best mid so far as his variance averages out to 91.4. So yeah, swings and roundabouts, I guess. I think for playing for overall, it's okay because it's going to average, but for someone in a league, if he's going to have a game where he does score sort of 70s, that might hurt you. He hasn't had the really high ceiling games this year, I have to say, not like those sort of
Hmm.
180, 170, 150. I think his highest has been about 123, 124, something like that.
Yeah.
But in any case, he has an easier run home with games against the Tigers, North, Hawthorn, West Coast, and the Saints to come. So I think he should have plenty of good scores in him coming up. So get him in.
Yep. You can probably loop in or link in there as well. The Pies, who he tails up historically, has a nice little average
It's a
against
good
as
one as
well.
well.
So yeah, 100%. If you haven't got him, get him in. But get him in also for the goals, as you say. The courtesy of free kicks, of which there's a little morsel here. So stats for most goals, not from direct free kicks, Liam. So you've opened up a Pandora's box here.
I did want to. I was aiming for this.
Kurno has kicked the most goals, not from free kicks, 124 goals. So yeah, classic. And then there's another one as well. Highest percentage of goals from free kicks since 2022. He only gets 20%. He's behind Zerha, Larky. Even Mackay has more, 24%. Walters. So yeah, there's a few there. But have a look on Twitter anyway if you want to.
Walters. Oh,
Yeah,
I would
Walters, yeah.
say
Yeah,
Michael
from
Walters.
Freo.
Yeah. I was like, hang on, who?
Yeah, who's Walters?
I
I've
was
just
like,
made him
Jed
up, just thrown him
Walters.
in there. Jed Walters. They've
Is it
added an
already that
S in there.
high at this time?
This time of day in this part of the country. Very good.
Oh,
Well, let's move on to Jai Caldwell. 476.3K mid forward from your mob, Liam, of course.
it
Currently
is.
is the 8th best mid. Is that correct? It's
Sorry,
incredible.
forward. That should be forward.
Forward. I was going to say, gee whiz, I should be getting him in my team. Sorry. My mistake there. The Dons midfielder, he comes into this round off the back of a 115-point game with 26 disposals and 11 tackles. And it means he has a 3-round average of 99 and a 5-round average of 96. And he's consistently getting CBAs this season, which is very, very good. But in the last 2 matches, has seen an uptick to 54% and 75%. So very, very nice. And I'd be mindful of this, as you've written here, Liam. With most of the Dons
Mm,
midfielders available and Parrish still a fair few weeks away, his role should be safe. But the real benefit here is his pod status, which at the moment is 3.8% ownership. So
it's a
I
ballsy
like it.
move. I don't know if I'd do it. Like you're gonna get Kerno cheaper.
Yep.
Like I think I'd rather that. If you already got Kerno, maybe I'd go for a Caldwell just for your pod.
Mm.
Um, I think I like the fact that he tackles a lot, so it's going to help his base. I
So
don't know.
would you, given the choice, just a bit of a
Yeah.
taster for a recurring segment, oh sorry,
Mm,
an old segment that we're bringing back for
mm.
2024, this episode. But when you're comparing the pair, Liam, would you go for Kerno or Caldwell? Because, Caldwell is 19K more expensive roughly than Charles. Would you have confidence in Kerno over Caldwell or Caldwell over Kerno? That's a mouthful.
I'd go Kerno over Caldwell. Price, probably the main factor.
Fixture?
Fixture, probably the other thing. I'm trying to get, sorry, Supercoach is so slow. I'm just going to get up. I was going to have a look at Caldwell's. I had a look at his scores. And I'm
Hmm.
mindful of not looking back too far. Like, I think we all look at the whole season sometimes,
Mm.
which is useful when they're a player that's sort of consistent, role hasn't changed. But with him, his role has changed somewhat.
Whilst you're
Just,
looking for that, Liam,
my God, it's taking
I'm
forever.
just
Yeah,
I'm just
you
gonna
give me
I'm
your
just gonna
answer.
I'm just gonna bait you like you baited me with good old Charles. I'm gonna throw one back your way. Does it help with the Dons having 8 of the last 9 games in
Oh, for
Melbourne?
God's sakes, don't start me on this. Do not start
Uh,
me on this. I've already had a rant to you about
Classic.
this.
Yeah, no, exactly. And rightfully so, because there are absolute nuffies out there that are complaining about it, despite the fact
I
that the Dons
just
have had quite a few interstate games early in the
so for
season. So it balances out.
the first 11 or 12 weeks, Essendon played every second week interstate. So it's not like they haven't played interstate this whole time
Hmm,
and now they're getting like this 10-week run. I'm
exactly.
like, we haven't even played, we've only played, I think GWS and West Coast on the weekend are the only 2 home games we played against interstate teams so far. Every other team that we've played interstate, every other interstate team we played has been at their home ground, which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about that, but I'm just saying that the discourse about our run home, I also agree. I would much prefer having an interstate game every 3, 4, 5 weeks as opposed to having one every second week.
Yeah. But isn't it
But
funny though?
anyway,
Like you're comparing it to a Collingwood who have, 7 of their last 9 games in Victoria. And it's like
mm,
they're all the MCG,
mm.
like none at Marvel. So you could spin it from that factor as well. Um, but yeah, it's just like the people just see that in isolation, and it's just like you can spin anything out of context. If you look at things in isolation, it's
Oh
just
yeah, and that's also it. Like, yeah. Anyway, it's
yeah.
just
Sorry,
that's
I've
my
opened
rant.
Pandora's box there.
Sorry,
Sorry, I
I'm
had
not
to
going to
return the
start
favor.
it. No, I did enjoy that because I saw your rant on Twitter the other day, so I had to throw it at you.
Mm.
Um, like looking, all right, I'm having a look at Caldwell's scores across the year. He's had a 58, a 67, and a 72. They all came in the first 8 rounds. His lowest scores other than that, 80, 83, 88. They have similar scoring. I'd say Caldwell's 10's a little bit lower than Curnow. I think I'd still go Curnow first, but I wouldn't be concerned if you had Curnow. Still be comfortable getting Caldwell,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. If you don't have Curnow, I mean, at the end of the day, it's cheaper. 19K is worth having. Like, it's not like it's a couple of K. Um, but as a pod, I quite like him.
yeah. Well, like his CBAs and stuff have only been like as I sort of outlined. The
Mm,
past couple of weeks have probably been the only 2 real
massive
good
amounts.
weeks where he's had like extensive runs through the middle. Prior to that, he's had 34%, 35%, 36%, 25%, 0, 8%, and then round 6, 5, and 4, it was 64%, 61%, and 46%. Obviously, just reading that backwards. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's probably working out. And again, if you look at that in isolation, the previous 2 weeks, it's like, oh, he's a world beater.
That's
But if you
it.
look at an
Yeah.
extended form and extended sort of role, things change.
But I think like looking at his worst scores for the year quickly, uh, can I do it this way? Yes, I can. So his worst scores kind of all go with lower tackle counts or he's given away a lot of free kicks. Although
Yeah, okay.
ironically, on the weekend, his highest score he gave, or second highest score, he gave away 5 free kicks. So he could have been
Ah,
on for a huge score. Um, so I do think in terms of like he's got that base of tackling, and that's
yep.
going to help him, sort of like what we used to talk about with Steele.
Mm.
Um, that'll benefit him over the season.
One thing I've noticed now, just looking at the CBAs, of course, courtesy via DFS Australia, check them out, do some awesome work. But there's a bit of a correlation here with the uptick in CBAs with Caldwell. It corresponds with the downturn in CBAs to Zach Merritt.
Mm,
So back in round 4, Merritt went from 100% CBAs against the Saints the previous round to then down to 69% against
100%
Port.
CBAs.
Yeah, crazy,
Jesus.
isn't it? And then he went down to 69% against Port. Presumably, was he being tagged by Willem Drew then? Um,
Um,
I don't know if you can remember,
yes,
but potentially.
I
But that
think so.
same week, Caldwell went up from 9% the previous week, CBAs, to 46% that same round against Port when
Mm.
Merritt's CBAs were down. Then there's another round, round six. Merritt's CBAs dropped to 60%, and Caldwell's went up to 64%. And then on the weekend, 64% Merritt CBAs, Caldwell 75%, which is his most for the season. So I don't know. Are they relying upon him more with if Merritt's getting a little bit of attention, or if they want to push him forward a bit more, or drop back behind the ball? Are they just allowing guys like is Caldwell the man who's putting his hand up first and foremost to be like, all right, I'll take his spot?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'm trying to have a look at the stats in full quickly. No, not really. Yeah, sorry. Yes to what you're saying. I'm just having a look at Durham in because he had a drop off as well. He went down to 47% on the
Ah,
weekend
yes.
compared to, but he probably got, Stringer probably got his.
Yeah,
I'm trying
Perkins
to,
had an uptick as well, 61%
yeah.
CBAs from 14 the
I think
game
it's just
prior.
trialing different. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, they
Yeah.
had, what's his name? Jinby running
Yeah.
with Merritt most of the game
Zachariah.
with Zachariah. Did not get his name confirmed.
Oh, damn it.
Yet, but
Next
we'll
time.
get there.
We'll work it.
Um,
You'll work it
I'll work
and,
it.
and get apprehended in turn.
That's it. That's it.
Through the radio.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he's still
I'm
scoring all
not.
right when he's not getting
That's the
CBAs
thing.
as
I'm
well.
not
It's just
too
long as
worried about it. No, that's where I think his basis of tackles is what's going to save him.
yeah,
There's just no one else. Like
good point.
looking at that, Gresham's not going to take any CBAs. Nick Martin came in for 17% CBAs on the weekend, which is well and truly his highest. Ben
Yeah.
Hobbs won't come in to take anything. I don't think Setters will play. Parrish is out for a little bit. And then really it's only Dylan Shield, who again I don't think will come in unless
Yeah.
they need to break glass in case of emergency. So yeah, I guess that's where I stand.
Yep.
Not too worried. I think it's more a case of if he's he's an extra option, I wouldn't be going for him before Kerno or potentially the next guy on the I'd probably go for him but ahead of the next guy on the list.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely Kerno first, then Caldwell.
Yep. Very nice. Well, Liam, who is the next man? Same name, Jai. There's a few Jais.
He J's. This one's
Mm.
JY.
Different spellings.
Simpkin. We should
Mm.
ask him if it's
What's his full name?
is it Jyanathan or
Jaeth?
something? Jai.
Jonathan. Like a sort of Jonathan, it's Jonathan.
I don't know. Well, what else could it be?
Yeah.
Just Jeremy, but he just left out the rest of the letters.
The E-R-E-M. Just call me Jai for short. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. That's actually a really good point.
We'll find out. Anyway, 400.7K. Ooh, nice and cheap. Mid forward eligible. Went up 38.8K in price on the weekend, courtesy of a 114, which had come off the back of a 129 against the Eagles in his previous game. He was a late withdrawal around 14 due to a low-grade hamstring strain, but quashed any fitness woes on the weekend with his large score. The big appeal to Simpkin is the fact he is getting back mid-minutes at the expense of Powell, with 65% CBAs in round 13, but that dropped down to 40% on the weekend, switching between playing more as a higher half forward. He does face the Dogs in round 16, who have been the fourth most restrictive to mids, but with a break even of just minus 11, if you wanted him, it might be the last chance to get him at such a bargain basement price. Wouldn't it be? I personally wouldn't be trusting him as a starting top six forward, given his terrible durability, but as he is super cheap and he has handy DPP in terms of mid and forward eligibility, he could prove a valuable player that you can loop off the bench and provide some cover across two different lines. I'm just not a fan just based off his injury history.
Mm. Yeah.
I think when you're getting someone like this, you want them to be um durable because you're kind of getting them
Yeah.
as cover.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, we'll probably talk about it in a bit more detail with our
Mm.
upcoming segment, but I agree with you 100%. That's a big thing that's kind of weighing on my mind. If I wanted to try and get him in, which I don't. But yeah, subtract that. Yeah, bit of a nice little option. But of course, we will chat about it in a bit more detail later. So let's move on to the next guy, and it is Will Powell from Gold Coast, 484.3K defender. And he's another pot option. And Powell returned to the Suns lineup after a suspension for using, of course, that stupid homophobic slur that he uttered. As such, he is low ownership at just 0.6%. Jeez. But has scored 103, 106, and 117 in his last 3 games. He comes in sub 500K and could be a sneaky option for those needing a defender. He took back his role from Alex Sexton, and one positive is that he took just the one kick in, meaning there is potential upside for him to take more and elevate that scoring ceiling. However, he should be immediately dragged from these options as he failed to play on from his one kick in, as you've listed here, Liam. That's very good. Very,
I've
very
got
good.
one rule.
Yeah,
One
one
rule.
rule. One rule. And also it probably applies as well if you're making ridiculous slurs as well. Which I thought as I was reading that sentence there, that was what was coming, but
Oh, that
you
too.
threw me for a curveball.
But
Yeah.
if you're gonna play on, if you're gonna
Yeah.
take a can you play on?
Yeah. And if you're going to play games, if you're going to come back from a homophobic slur, at least try and make it up by taking kick-ins. That's what I say. Don't know if there's a lot of
Well,
correlation there, but
well known,
yeah, just to
well
just
known
get back
fact
in the
that.
good books. Get back in the good
Um,
books.
I'm just double checking it. I'm pretty sure it's 0.6. I'm sorry, I checked when I looked it down. Yeah, 0.6.
Yeah, there we
I don't
go.
mind it. I actually don't mind it as a bit of a pod def option if you need it.
Yep.
103, 106, 117 in his last three looks good. Risky,
Mm,
but don't mind it. I feel vindicated if he comes back after being an early owner.
yes, of course. Thought you might have erased that from your memory, but yeah,
Barely.
he was a pod back then, even when you
Yeah, he
started him.
was like 1% or something, or 2%, I think,
Yeah.
owned back
So
then.
now he's an Uber pod.
Real risky, but I love it. Let's jump into on the bubble now. And these are the guys that are obviously, as the name suggests, on the bubble. Billy Dowling, 123.9K, mid forward eligible, one of the last remaining rookie prospects that serve the purpose of being both reliable, season long bench covers, while also having some scoring potential. Having scored 63 and 55 in his first 2 games. With Crouch out for the season, it has opened up the door for Dowling to get an extended run at senior level after being much hyped for some time. So comes with great job security. Get him
Yep.
in.
Get him in. I do like him and I do have him. And next up we have I don't know how to pronounce this, but we'll give it a go. Colton Tholstrup. It sounds like some sort of STI, as they call it nowadays. Not that I have any, thankfully, but it sounds like, oh, I've contracted the Colton Tholstrup. Damn it.
It also,
It's like chlamydia. Not that I've had that either, but it sounds like an STI. So what were you saying?
or something that cures an STI, like, gonna take some
Yeah.
Colton.
You gotta take, have you had your batch of Colton Tholstrup? Yeah, you gotta take it for, a couple of tablets here and there, and that'll cure your ailments. Sound like some sort of snake oil salesman. But Colton, he has looked rather impressive. He is priced at 153.3K,
Mm.
by the way, as a forward. Looked impressive in his first 2 games. He scored 34 and 70 with a knack for tackling, which is good. And as we spoke of earlier, is very, very nice. Works for Caldwell and the like. Had 4 and 7 in his first 2 games to help boost his numbers despite limited disposals. And whilst he played his first game way back in round 5, he only played his
Mm.
second game on the weekend. So I would suggest his job security isn't the most secure, but could perhaps carve out a role up forward with Pickett getting much more mid-time now with Petrarca out.
Mm.
He's an
Don't
option.
mind it, but
Higher price though.
153K, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like that.
No. No DPP.
Next option. Nathan Kruger. Yeah, no DPP as well. Billy Dowling,
Hmm.
get on him.
Yep.
Nathan Kruger, 123.9K, forward ruck eligible. Good old Freddie, as we like to call him, went from 2% ownership to 24% over his first couple of weeks. And it has mainly been due to the Pies injury list, which has been preferred tall forwards, which has seen preferred tall forwards, sorry, in Myercheck and Cox on the sidelines. He has scored 76 and 46 in his first two games and has more so lacked durability than outright opportunity. But now he gets just that, but for how long? With Myercheck slated to return this week, it remains to be seen if Kruger remains in the side. But with Cox out, it might buy him some time. The bigger appeal, of course, is that he has that forward ruck DPP, which is even more valuable for those who own Jackson in their forward line to allow swing flexibility if need be.
Yep. I am in that position. I've got Nathan Kruger, and if he doesn't play, is what it is. I think with all these rookies as well, that we're kind of not buying them for their cash cow making abilities, like not for cash gen.
No.
It's more so just you're getting in these guys as either dead rookies, non-playing players, so you can loop on, scores if need be, like with the 23rd man, like Rozee in my case, or guys that are going to provide actually a bit of cover off the bench across multiple lines if they can as DPP players, if need be, if there are any 1 week injuries or the like, because it isn't spoken about enough, but every single year injuries strike, suspensions strike, and if you don't have bench cover, you're left having to potentially burn what you have left of your emergency trade. So that's virtually it. I think there's a couple of other rookies as well that are playing their second game this round.
Yeah,
But
there's Kynan Brown, I think, is one.
yeah,
Ari Schoenmaker, another one. Logan Evans,
yep.
potentially as well.
At least I think of the guys we've spoken about, I think we're probably in agreement, aren't we? Billy Dowling is the best of the best.
Yes.
So
Then
get
I'd
him
go
in.
my Kruger, sorry, and then I'd go
Yep.
Tholstrup, really. I don't know. If you're going to Tholstrup, I think personally I'd just go for a dead rookie. Like, not a
Yeah.
dead rookie, but like a 102 loop option.
Yeah. Give you a bit of extra coin if you need it to boost.
Yeah.
For reaching for that nice premo. Extra cash comes in handy. But otherwise, those guys we'll speak about next week in Ari Showmaker and stuff. You could potentially go early on them if you wanted to, but I don't know. It remains to be seen if Showmaker keeps his spot. Wangan and Millera should return to St Kilda's lineup. But Showmaker showed a fair bit in his first game, so who knows? Could go early on him, but we'll speak about those guys next week. Salim, it's now time, and that time of the show, to whack on the old captain's hat and do our best impression of Zachariah Merritt on the weekend, because he was that man who a lot of us whacked the captain's armband on and said, "I'm the captain now."
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Are you going to get the restraining order now as well? Not just me?
No, it is just you. It is just you. You said the other week that you were cited at training. You're obviously at games. It's you're stepping it up and you're walking the line, I reckon.
I'm trying. Look, I'm doing my best to get to the bottom of this mystery about whether it's Zachariah or Zachary.
Yep.
Or just Zach.
Yeah.
Or potentially something we haven't thought of. Like, it could be, I don't know what else it could be, but it could be something else.
Yeah. Well, it's the H. Put it in H, as we said last week, Liam.
Put it in H.
Yes. Anyway, let's jump in. This is I'm the Captain Now, and in this segment, we chat about the VC options and the C options that you've got for your upcoming round of SuperCoach. We've all got. As always, we look through all the data and we find the top options for you to consider.
Indeed, I've just whacked on the old Merritt cap here, and first up we have Zorko up against Melbourne. Very, very tantalizing prospect. He continues on his merry way, of course, averaging 110.9, and now faces the D's, who give away the third most points to opposition defenders. Scored the 116 when he did play the D's back in round 5 of this season, and scored 139.72 in the 2 games prior to that against the D's. The cherry on top, is that this encounter will be on Zorko's home deck at the Gabba, where he's averaging, get this, 137.33 across 6 games. So loves the dimensions at the Gabba, and I reckon he will be in for a nice game.
I agree. Nice VC option on, I think it's a Friday night game. Very nice.
Yes.
Moving on to the opposite side of the field, it is Gawn up against Brisbane. The big bearded one has had a nice history against the Lions in recent times with scores of 138 earlier this year, 215, 74, 138, and 157. I do think we are excluding his score of 0 when he got injured out of that because, like, let's be real.
Yep.
But in the last 5 games, the Lions are the second hardest team to score against for rucks. In Gawn's recent history, count for more. And just quickly, by the way, we are getting all these sort of stats about, the difficulty in scoring against, aside from DFS, their defense, DFS Australia, in their defense versus position. And it's recently been updated to also include SuperCoach stats. So make sure you get around them. Very, very handy resource.
Yep, 100%. Do some fantastic stuff. Virtually, we just form the basis of everything that we talk about when it comes to numbers from the Guru website of DFS Australia. So I can't thank them enough. Next up, we have in the same game, there's quite a few options in this game. We have Lachie Neale up against the D's, of course, and he comes off a score of 149 against Port on the weekend, towed them up, and has scored 109, 75, and 100 in his past 3 against the D's. But the D's, they are giving away the 7th most points to opposition mids. So there is at least a positive correlation to suggest that he could produce a nice score in line with what he has been able to punch out.
That's it. Moving on to the next game, and it is LDU up against the Doggies. And he hasn't got the best recent history against the Dogs, the old UDL, but with scores of just 73, 74, and 66 in his past 3. But having scored a ton in his past 6 games and holding a 3-game average of 136.3 and a 5-game average of 135.6, he's in full flight and has prime opportunity to continue his great run of form.
Yep, like him. And we also have Sheasel in that same game, and we all were worried what a move to the midfield would do to the Shees, but he is still averaging 122 from his last 3 games, including 2 games above 120. Has only played the Dogs once for a score of 103, so it's really hard to read much into that, but you can't knock good form.
No, agreed. And also in that game, but on the other side of the field, we got the Bont. Le Bont has scored 169 against the Roos in his last game against them, which was a career high against them. Coming off the bye, he should be ready and raring to go and continue on with his form. 3 of his last scores have been 135 plus, and 2 of his last 3 have been 162 plus. Get around him.
Yep. Incredible. A little bit worried. I don't know. There's a few prospects there of Will Phillips, the tag. Does he go to Bont? I reckon he'd be towed up if he tries to run with Bont, just the height factor. Libba, Dale, Bont, I like this. Yes, actually quite a few options.
I reckon surely Phillips goes to a Libba or an Ed Richards, more.
Richards, is another one. Yep.
Just more. He's going to get absolute, if Bont takes him forward.
Yeah, exactly. In the air, you'll absolutely kill him. But when we're talking about tags and prospects, because they're quality players, Dacos up against the Suns this week. He has been in some insane form once again, scoring 130, 156, a 64, which we'll mention, of course, but it was sub-affected due to the I think it was a shin leg knock that he had, injury affected, and a 129 in his past 4 games. Is netting the top 2 CBAs at the Pies since round 8 with 83% and above, meaning he has prime opportunity to feast on points at will. And the Suns, they're also giving away the 2nd most points to opposition inside mids, with players going at around 5 points above their average, with Brayshaw in recent times scoring 134, Young's 130, and Sarong's 121, which was as soon as on the weekend, an example of such dominance an opposition midfield can have against the Suns. So, speaks for itself. Dacos, I like it.
I do. Next up, we have Zach Merritt, put it in H, up against Geelong. It's hard to ignore Merritt considering his consistency this season with just 2 games below 100, a 94 and a 97, and just 6 games below 120, all others being 120 plus. Hasn't got the best average against the Cats, but I'd still back him in.
Yep, exactly right. He's got that consistency, that reliability. Don't mind him if you don't have any of the others. And then round us out, we have Houston up against St Kilda. And of course, we say it all the time, but just a reminder, they give away the most points to opposition defenders, which could mean Houston is in for a big score. And they've given away 130 points to Ryan Lester, of all players, 157 to Bodie Euland, interesting name of all players again, and 117 to, again, Tom McDonald of all players. So a bit of an interesting one here.
So Tom Houston, based off this, Tom Houston is going 3,000.
Or alternative, I was going to say he's not going to go well because he's not a lesser known player. He's not. He's not a no name, which Tom McDonald himself is probably relegating himself to. But yeah, he should go a million. But having said that, strangely enough, he only scored 107 when the two teams met in round 7. But on recent form, he could be in for a big one. So take the punt. I like it.
Get on him. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Now, onto our head-to-head, Damon. Last week, as I said, I put it in H. Jumped on Zachariah against the Wiggles.
You didn't put it in H. You are due for some jail time very, very soon. That restraining order, it's
135.
Geez. No touching.
No touching! No touching! No touching! No touching!
Arrested Development reference there. No touching. Oh, yeah, no touching. No touching the prisoner.
Oh, well, I went for Flanders against the Dockers. Sorry, you went for Flanders.
I went for Flanders. I went for the sexy one.
Oh my God, I've lost it. You went for Ned up against the Dockers, who went at 117. So I've leveled us again, and I brought the points differential back into the 2 digits. It's only 91 now. So we are sitting 7 wins apiece with the differential in your favor of 91.
Yep. It was the biblical matchup, wasn't it? Is that what you said? Because Ned Flanders and it was
Ned Flanders up against Zachariah. Come on, Liam.
Classic. Absolute classic. Well, I've got the first choice this week, don't I? Because you went first choice for put it in H. I'm tempted to put it in H, but I'm not going to because there's quite a few other options that stand out. And I think the one we spoke of from the top, Dane Zorko, I'm going to lock him in to having a day out, feasting on bog points against the Ds, and I reckon they're going to give a shit. At the Gabba, I think that does it for me as well. Lock him in, lock and loaded. Zorko, what about yourself, Liam? Are you going to go put in H again for the second time because you got away with it the first time?
No, I can't. I can't use him 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, that's right. You can't. It's against the SuperCoach Edge law.
That's against the law. I'll go to jail for 2 reasons. One, for putting it in H. And 2, for
doing it 2 times in a row.
2 times in a row. For putting it in H a second time.
A second time, yeah.
All right. I don't even know. Like Storko, I like. Obviously, you've got him. Max Gorn. Got a good history against the old Lions. Bont.
Yes.
Like Bont. Houston. TDK. I mean, do I just rip someone out completely out of left wing?
TDK up against Nank the Tank.
I don't know. That scares me because but then he's been doing it against lumbering rucks, hasn't he?
Yep. And even did it against his brother on the weekend.
When do you play? Do you play early?
I think it's Sunday, actually. I think it's like the second last game. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a ridiculous time. 3:20 on a Sunday. What? Anyway, yeah.
If I could VC him, I would have done it. I'm going to VC Zorko. And I'm going to see Le Capitan.
Yep. I like it. Lock and load. And with that, it is time for the return of one of our old favorite segments. It is replacing I Got to Know for this week. But of course, if you got to know about anything, of course, hit us up, DMs, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. A few people have already with regards to questions about their own team, which we'll happily answer. But it is a return, Liam, of take it away,
Same price,
same position.
same Supercoach contribution.
But there could be a season of difference between their scoring output.
Compare the pair.
How'd you decide? I compared the pair.
Compare the pair.
I don't know who's comparing the pair. There's literally nothing in the
Yeah, there's
notes.
not. Oh, who are we
Therefore,
comparing?
Compare the pair.
No, it was a late entry, but I figured there was a fair bit of discussion about these two guys. Do you go for a Connor Rozee? Do you go for a Jai Simpkin? Um, there's a few things to factor in.
No, there's nothing to factor in.
I think so as well. I think it's pretty clear
Yeah.
cut for me,
Mm.
because I have a choice of going between either player, and I've brought in one of them, and it is Rozee. So, Liam, what is it for you? No doubt you're going for Rozee as well. What is it for you that, is the main reason why you'd recommend him over Simpkin?
I think Rosie's scoring potential is higher.
Mhm.
One. Two, I think his durability is better.
Yep,
Like Simpkin could just miss a week just cause. Like
like we saw last week.
yeah. Like just that kind of low grade. He's got a bit of a niggles, got a bit of the niggles. He's got a niggle or whatever.
Needs a floor strip.
That's it. Like I just think that's my biggest concern. Like I just think for the extra 10K, I think you're getting a bit more peace of mind.
Yep.
I do like his like his DPP is useful. I just don't think I think Simpkin could be a top 6 forward from this stage.
Mm.
So I'm not against it. I just don't trust his durability. Like you're
Yeah.
getting a player if you've got lots of trades. Like I think if you trade Simpkin in, you need to save a trade or
Yep,
get
that's a
another
good call.
player in to be your your F whatever 7. Yeah.
Mm.
Or your F6 and here's your loop. Like I don't trust him.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at the fixture, but I'm assuming North play a lot of Sunday games. So it's going to be a case of you're not going to find if he's a late out, like it
Yeah.
potentially could undo you.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah. I didn't factor that in.
He's also had his concussion issues as well. So it's like
Yeah.
one bad, like if he gets a dangerous tackle or a bump or whatever. Hopefully it doesn't obviously happen, but just mindful of that as well.
And if that was to happen as well, which knock on wood it doesn't, but given the spate of concussions that he's had, obviously the Webster one was bad. You would think using Libba as a bit of a benchmark, he missed multiple weeks, not just the 1 week,
Yeah.
because he had a history of that. And you'd think the same thing would happen with Simpkin if that was to occur again. So that's a very good point. And I think with me, like the one thing I always come back to is, and especially at this time of the year, putting aside the fact that either of these players could be an M9 in Rose's position or an M9 or an F7 for Simpkin. I think if I was to trade in either of these guys, if they were on field, I would have more confidence in playing
Yes. Yeah.
Rozee on field compared to Simpkin. That's what it comes down to me. If they're an extra player, the 23rd man, we'll call them just for short, you could probably take the risk on a Simpkin because he's got that DPP if you wanted that extra flexibility. If you don't have any other existing DPP swings, which I do, thankfully, with Dowling and Revel. But even so, I would prefer to lock in the more reliable player that has a high ceiling or equally as high, but I think a higher floor as well, maybe with Rozee. I think people look at his scoring, they're like, oh, well, maybe he isn't as reliable as what he seems, but you got to look back at Rosee's form. He has been a top tier player for so long. There's a tag risk, yes, maybe potentially with Rozee, but I think they'll probably go to Butters first. Frees up Rozee to do his thing. So, he scored 152 back in round 4 against the Dons, 125 against Freo in round 5. And from there he had his injury issues. So
Yeah.
I think I'd be going for Rozee over Simpkin.
I think it's 10K. Like,
Mm,
I think it's 10K, and there's a lot more peace of mind with one
yep.
over the other. And I also think if you're trading him in now, like realistically, I'm just trying to like what am I going to say? If it's just unlikely you're going to trade him back out,
Yeah.
like so you're potentially stuck with him. Like I don't know, let's say I don't know. I can't look at my Supercoach team, but let's say you've got a Jackson and he gets injured, and now you're relying on Simpkin. Like
Yeah.
you're going to trade out. You know what I mean? Like you might not be able to
Yeah.
trade out Simpkin as well. So I think that's the other mindset that I'd be looking at. Whereas I think with Rozee, with just his injury history, that's my biggest concern.
Mm,
If it was, I don't know, who's not injury prone, like someone else that was just not an injury worry, I'd be
yeah.
going. I'd be happy with Simpkin if he was not injury prone.
Yeah. No, exactly right. Yep.
Or if it was another player, or if Rozee was also an injury prone player, then maybe I'd be going Simpkin just because he has the mid forward eligibility.
Mm,
But I just think that Rosie's got more upside.
yeah. Yeah. I think he's in a different tier for me. Like when
Yeah.
you're comparing both players, Supercoach wise, yeah, he's in a higher tier compared to Simpkin, and
Yeah, I
Simpkin's
agree.
dual position doesn't elevate him into the same tier, even so, as Rozee. So that's virtually it. So we're both in agreement there. So hopefully that helps you out in terms of if you are comparing the pair as potential trading options for your team. So Liam, that brings us to the end of the show. But before we go, where can our listeners and viewers find us across our socials?
Yes, on YouTube, search Supercoach Edge, and don't forget to like and subscribe. On Twitter, at Supercoach_Edge, David at DavidJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95, and on Facebook, Insta, and TikTok, search Supercoach Edge, and you'll find us there.
Very good. Well, that rounds us out for round 15. So best of luck. We are now finally out of the bye rounds, almost full teams. Hopefully you're in that your situation as well, and we can just kick back and hopefully all of our primos fire at the same time. That's really the biggest issue at the moment. So, Liam, all the very best for the weekend to come. May your trades hit the mark and your scores head to the moon.
See you guys.